a few mistakes, and even in the late game a few mistakes, but overall a very high level of play.
All right, so the big question remains, what can France do to keep Knutti and his Gul'dan in check? They tried it with Dan10's comfort pick, the Zagara, and we've seen multiple teams throughout this tournament fall victim to exactly that playstyle. Sweden, one of the few who actually bested Dan10 for the first time.
Yeah, Sweden making great use of the Mjolnir Brightwing combination. The Mjolnir ganking the Zagara, bringing Brightwing as well to make sure that Zagara gets slowed, bring some extra damage, and that was what kept the Zagara in check, and that's not something that fans planned for.
And the pressure that Sonya offers as well. That Poison Spear is such a huge chunk of damage. When you pair that up with, like you said, with the Muradin, then if Zagara is ever staying just a little bit too long, we saw in the top lane in that last push that France really had, where Zagara just got absolutely destroyed by the aggressive move-in from Muradin, Brightwing, and Sonya.
Now, gentlemen, after watching this battle unfold on Dragonshire, what would be a good battleground next to play on?
I'm sticking with my Tomb and Towers. I think one of those two would be good.
I think France will take us to Tomb. They look very comfortable there.
All right, it shall not be Tomb this time around. We're going to Brex's holdout instead. So another laning-heavy, rotation-heavy map, which could very well suit the playstyle of Team Sweden's Gul'dan once more.
Yeah, if this was France's map choice and they don't ban out Gul'dan here, they potentially made a pretty severe mistake.
Bakery, what do you have to say about this choice?
Sweden, they did look vulnerable yesterday. The Netherlands, in the early game, did look very scary, but once they got out of the early game, Sweden looked like they knew exactly what they were doing. Beacon to beacon, always pressuring, taking that keep, taking the huge team fights. So I definitely favor Sweden.
All right, so as we can see, it was indeed Sweden's map choice as well, since it is France starting off with the first ban, first pick.
So France gave it up to Team Sweden in favor of that first pick, and they don't ban out the Gul'dan. If they're not picking this first, then this is starting to get weird.
They hovered the Gul'dan ban just like they did in Game 1, and then they decided, no, we have to ban the ETC instead. I'm expecting a first pick, and if they don't, I am scared for them.
All right, so a lot of respect coming in here from our panel towards Knutti's Gul'dan, and rightfully so. He's been turning on the heat yesterday. He continues to do so today in the semifinals. Let's see what he's got. If you think Knutti and his Gul'dan will be strong enough to carry through game number 2 in favor of Sweden as well, let us know. Drop hashtag SEWin in the chat. But if you think France will recover and they will have learned and know how to deal with it, hashtag FRWin. You got it.
So, Sweden taking a very long time with their first ban.
I think they were expecting a Gul'dan first.
Yeah, they're like, wait, what do we do? We were going to ban ETC, but no, because ETC, one of the biggest problems they very nearly had from both sides.
Yeah, ETC continues to be such a rock, such a pillar that gives so much stability and so much playmaking capabilities to all the teams that field him.
Chromie. So they are taking the risk. They are just calling the bluff that France will not first pick Gul'dan, because otherwise Chromie would have been a fantastic sort of counter pick, and they don't. It's a call well made.
Sweden taking a risk, but that's uncharacteristic.
Ooh, being slow.
Yesterday they were fantastic about playing very safe, playing very measured, and it paid off. But taking that risk to ban out the Chromie, that's a new style for them.
That's definitely a new style. Now, when I see an early Tassadar coming in for Team France, it tells me Kira could go for his Tracer. He loves to play on that hero. He could maybe even fall back on a Vala, because I think sometimes there's ranged assassins who play more auto-attackers. Yeah. Sometimes there's ranged assassins who focus more on the mages. But I think Kira definitely leaning towards that double support auto-attack playstyle.
And we were told that there was a Zul'jin, even though we didn't get to see it, there was a Zul'jin played yesterday, another hero who works very well with that Tassadar. But once again, approximately all of the time passed too slow, if we're going by Sweden's usual Gul'dan lock-in time. They do lock in the Gul'dan along with that no mana healing support Brightwing.
Yeah, we spoke a lot about how Gul'dan thrives when there's a support next to him that doesn't require a mana, so they can't get out-sustained in lane. Do you think Brightwing is a good choice there?
Brightwing is a choice that I'm not sure how much I like objectively, but when looking at the players and the way that Sweden plays, Daikon is a fantastic Brightwing, as is Henning. So picking it this early makes perfect sense, because both of those players can flex to that hero and actually make plays happen.
Now we see the classic choice coming in from Team France.
Yeah.
The Ariel, the Tracer, and the Tassadar. That's something every Hero League player in Europe and probably across the globe is going to know by now.
I like that. Here's the issue. Tracer is not a good hope generator. She's an okay one, especially once she gets bullet spray later on. However, until then, Ariel has to be very self-sufficient with her energy generation, usually using energized cord or something like that. If they were, this is a comp that could have led to that Cho'Gall, and they could have potentially left Tassadar in the top lane, which is not the best lane matchup, but it's a comp that was available to them. So Sweden, wanting to just keep things standard, they banned someone who is both a good hope generator and could have been something they weren't as prepared for. So they removed the Cho'Gall.
When Sweden commit to that Gul'dan Brightwing, they do not have much tower push. And France could have made use of that with a fantastic pocket strategy, where they had Tassadar Tracer in the top lane and Oriel Cho'Gall in the bottom. Exactly. And that would have allowed the top lane of Tassadar Tracer to push, take a lot of value, and to lose nothing on that bot side with the Cho'Gall counter pick, basically. So I like the ban from Sweden.
Yeah, I really do like it too, and it's so interesting to see that ever since Hungary in the group phase were able to pick Cho'Gall for the first time and dominate with it. Yeah. It's safe to say that it is a part of the Nexus games, right?
He's on our team's minds constantly, especially when you see someone like an Ariel appear in the draft, or even an Ana, who we do see banned out this time. Ana also exceptional with the Gul'dan because he reduces the zone
against
healing.
Ariel.
Ana brings it back up, and like you said, great against Ariel if you can get that counter healing, and of course, the sleep dart effective against everyone.
Yeah, very true. So, how do you like this Ariel pick here with the Tracer? I mean, Bakery, you've been very critical towards Ariel as a pick in the current meta. Do you think she works well with the Tracer here, or would you have rather preferred a different support?
So far, I do not like the direction that France is taking. If they pick up something like a Valor or possibly a Zul'jin, then I might like it a bit more. But I just don't think that Tracer is a good enough synergy with Oriel to actually give her that space.
This also means if they do go for a Valor or someone like that, they're going to be running a solo tank. And with both Muradin and ETC, the go-to solo tanks taken out of this draft already, that could be potentially a difficult choice for France to make, who have shown that they are okay in the past going to a solo tank Johanna, and it was not successful.
And gentlemen, I think the community is backing you up right now.
Yeah.
Favor has shifted quite a bit towards the Swedish team. I guess people were not happy with the performance of France in last game. They aren't really sold on the Tracer potentially.
So, Gul'dan.
Yeah. Gul'dan continues to corrupt chat, if you will.
The chat will all serve me. As we see the final two picks for Team France, going back to that Zagara and bringing out a Nubrak, who is solid in that solo tank role.
So France getting something that looks comfortable for them. I like the Zagara, I like the Nubrak, but I'm still not sold on the
Where's
Oriel.
the hope? Like, Zagara is once again not the best hope generators. Ariel is going to have to be incredibly self-sufficient.
What I also don't see here is the fact, or is the thing, how is France going to blow up somebody trapped in a cocoon? If Tracer is nearby, well, that may be a little bit of damage, but Zagara is not really known to deliver the big numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're just going to look not to have that aspect of their play, which is something that makes Nubrak a lot weaker, but he does still have one style to play with, and it is still strong, of cocooning a influential hero, maybe the Muradin, and diving past it, maybe the Gul'dan, and basically ignoring him. It's like, we didn't need to ban Gul'dan because we can just put him in a cocoon.
The High Lord returns to the Nexus as the last pick for Sweden, Alarak. And we were talking about what we would like to see against the Zagara. Last time it was Sonya. This time, they're bringing out the Alarak. What do you think?
I like it. I like it. I think Alarak is a hero that always has kill potential on Zagara. And since Zagara needs to walk up to stand on the beacon, you can always have a Muradin jumping over that wall. You can always have a Brightwing teleporting in. I like the Alarak pick a lot.
So you're saying Muradin is going to fulfill a similar role as Genji, trying to really be a menace early on for the the Zagara, excuse me, jump over the wall, land a stun, while Alarak is dealing with the rest.
We have actually seen Rask on a Muradin in the past.
Yeah, last game.
Very far forward in the group stage as well, playing very far forward on this map, just being an immense pain for all rotations from the enemy team. And if he's able to do that as well as put himself in position to start pressuring that top lane as well, then I really like the idea here.
Now, gentlemen, whose draft surprised you more and convinced you more, most importantly?
Sweden.
You're going with Sweden?
Definitely Sweden.
Thatcher?
Gul'dan always prevails when he's on Team Swede.
Can't really argue with that one. I think Sweden looked extremely strong with that Gul'dan, and they seem to have found a good counter recipe to really deal with the Dantan on the Zagara. Can they do it again on Brax's holdout? We'll find out in a bit, as we're going to introduce the teams once more for you guys. On the left-hand side, currently down 0-1, it is Team France, with Ewok on the Ariel this time around. Kira plays the Tracer, Masquerade on the Tassadar. Up in the top and mid, we have Wonka on that Nubarak, and last but not least, it is going to be Danatan. Who else on his Zagara?
And for Team Sweden, we have Vask playing Mjodin. We have Scott playing Alarak. Daikon on his trusty Brightwing. Knuti on his now famous Gul'dan, and Henning on Vega.
Yeah, and that is actually something we kind of forgot to talk about, like how good of a player Henning is on that Rhaegar. It's definitely one of his most comfort picks. Rhaegar seems to be one of the most highly contested supports in the Nexus game in general.
Yeah, Vhagar, the standard support. He's the hallmark of a strong support player, basically, because he is so flexible and he is so strong when played well. And Henning is a player that can definitely play him well.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we see a similar approach here coming in from Team Sweden compared to Game 1. Once again, Brightwing is helping out the Alarak in the early game, trying to keep the creep tumor count low, trying to really defend the towers early on. But this time around, there's a lot of pressure coming in here as well in the bottom lane in a 4 versus 3 situation.
So I like the setup from Sweden so far. They're keeping Brightwing in top to make sure Alarak does not take too much poke and to make sure they can trade onto Zagara. Now, when the team of Team France steps too far forward, they can have that Brightwing teleport down and have a 4v4 that France thought was a 4v3.
Absolutely, and don't forget the importance of Polymorph, guys. It is such a crucial tool to shut down a Tracer that gets in a little bit too recklessly, and Kirba is known to be one of the most aggressive players when on that hero.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes aggressive to a fault. Most of the time, he just makes so much space. But sometimes, if he oversteps, he gets caught by a Stormbolt after that Polymorph, then that could be lights out.
And you can really see how Daikon is using his Q to keep destroying those creep tumors, because as Bakery said in Game 1, not only do creep tumors provide movement speed and escape mechanisms for Zagara, but most importantly, vision of incoming ganks. So now all of a sudden, Rask on the Merchant has a much clearer path available to get early ganks rolling.
Exactly, and you can see how Vask is playing in this bot lane. Most of the time, he is stood on the side, and he is basically just playing it slow, looking for an opportunity where he can come from the side, land a stun, and get some big poke or even possibly a kill onto a member of Team France.
In the meantime, though, Ewok doing a good job keeping Rask under control here. Both beacons being occupied by the respective teams. 1-1 is currently the count. And Henning, he does what a Rhaegar does best. It is one of the strongest supports, if not the strongest supports, when it comes to clearing mercenaries and secure an early game push this way.
And what I want to emphasize there is how heads up Henning was. He predicted that they would gank him, and he ran the safe way all the way around through his base because he knew they were missing from the bot lane.
So avoiding enemy contacts, if you will, that would give vision and information to them. In the meantime, Rask trying his best to maybe get in a little bit of channel progress on that beacon, but there's a lot of D-pushing so far available with all those Tassadar shields and, of course, the Detainment Strike, always keeping the Dwarf at bay. This Stormbolt didn't land, unfortunately. And the moment you drop below 40-30% health, you really need to be on your tippy toes, otherwise the Tracer Spike Bomb might be the end of you.
Exactly, but you have to keep in mind, look at Mjodin's choice of level 1 talent. He is already back to 100% HP.
Yeah, Third Wind being such a crucial talent when it comes to long, sustained team fights in the laning phase here, and Brax's holdout really good. In the meantime, Team Sweden is getting a little bit more aggressive here. The Spike Bomb actually not landing on Knuti. I think that's the target they wanted to hit.
Yeah, Henning, another fantastic play. He's playing a great series so far, and this game he's been the best player in the entire game. Blocks the Pulse Bomb and saves Gul'dan's life.
Yeah, in the meantime, Kirba is now the one who's feeling the pain. Needs to be careful. Full energy on Ewok. Uses it to completely heal Kirba back up. In the meantime, Knuti also needs to be on his guard. Beautiful damage and the life drain. So good to keep himself safe against that single target damage from Tracer.
Now, Sweden are in trouble because they have lost both lines. It's close to going down, but look at that value from the Pixie Dust on Brightwing.
Yeah, really, really well done. That's so important to keep your Pixie Dust for the moment it really matters. Blocking 40% of the damage done by the Tracer ulti was really what saved Knuti's Rask's life here. Beautifully done.
You can see just how strong the laning phase from Team France is, and Sweden are losing, but they knew that they would. So all they need to do, they need to hold out, they need to get to level 10 and still be even with Team France, and they are exactly where they want to be.
And you can see a really good positioning game here coming in from Team France. One of the heroes, this time it was Tracer, is always trying to scout ahead and warn the top lane just in case Muradin was going to make his way up, or maybe a Brightwing was getting ready for a teleport. So perfect vision coming in for Dantan, and it is really hard to get rid of the Zagara, who continues to be such a bane and threat in this lane. Now, they seem to have found a new target on the Wonka. Actually, a misused burrow charge, a little bit too short. That could have actually been a disaster if Skok had his abilities up.
Rast did get dismounted in the rotation by the Tracer, just like you were mentioning. He was scouting ahead, saw the Muradin, and took it down. Canuti
Here we go.
Down, and that's Curva making his trademark aggressive plays on Tracer.
Yeah, that was an important pickup here, because without the Gul'dan, there's no more wave clear available, almost no more wave clear available in the top lane, and that could actually lead to a strong aggressive play. In the meantime, though, Dantan also in trouble. A beautiful geometry, perfect geometry here by Skok, making sure that the Zerg ends up falling, and Wonka could be the next one. Another silence, and it's 2 for 1.
And Sweden are so happy they found that play right now, because otherwise they were down, and they could have been behind a lot. 74% on the Zerg wave, but a fantastic gank. Daikon on the Brightwing, time and time again. Always teleporting at the right time.
In the meantime, Daikon now in trouble, gets chased down by Kirwa. Needs to be careful, Kirwa that is. The polymorph comes in, the silence misses just by an inch, and that basically makes sure that Kirwa gets away to safety.
If that silence hit, then that could have been Kirwa going down, but just slightly off.
Sometimes, you know, it's just an inch that makes all the difference in those clutch scenarios. Now, in the meantime, Rast trying to hold his own here against Wonka on the Anubrek. And Anubrek needs to be careful, almost takes 50% of his HP. He does have the magic armor available and the Nerubian armor as well at level 1. But the thing is, Gul'dan's damage is sustained over time, so it can really trigger it and causing it to be on cooldown all the time.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if he's completed his quest yet, but he is getting close with how many of these he is landing. On Tracer, on Anubrek, even on Tassadar.
When would you say is a good time to actually go Echo Corruption here? Normally we're used to seeing the Fell Flame quest at level 1. Haven't hold that thought. In the meantime, we're seeing a team fight go down. Huge damage coming into Wonka on that Anubrek. Escapes, though, with the clutch burrow charge. Really well done. But back to the question I was asking you. When do you go Fell Flame and when do you go Echo Corruption here?
I think Echo Corruption has definitely come back in the meta. Fell Flame was favored for quite a long time because it made Gul'dan's damage much more consistent. But as players got better, they didn't need that consistent damage. They can get with Echo Corruption as well.
Brightwing coming in, saving, handing with a shield, and an immediate Pixie Dust follow-up here against the Spike Bomb from Kirwa. And it looks like Team Sweden is making it a lot harder right now for their opponents to really catch anyone off guard. Their defenses look much more stable than before.
Yeah, absolutely. Team France, they finally have gotten that good position though, and they will secure the Zerg wave. Now, this is why Gul'dan is so good on this map, because he's that AoE damage from that Fell Flame is so valuable against the Zerg wave.
Meantime, the Zerg wave will be launched from the bottom. The fort already takes a lot of damage. You can really see the heavy aggression from the French team. They want to save as much health on those Zergs as possible by taking down the structure beforehand. Now they're pushing in, taking care of this minion wave as well. In the meantime, still 2 heroes securing at least a little bit of value in the top lane for Team Sweden. But this is where they have to make their stand. This is where Gul'dan has to make a hold.
They are now level 10, and this is what they're waiting for. Echo Corruption completed as well. Everything's coming together. France knows this. They're playing super far back. They are not actually hitting the keep wall right now.
Definitely true. And of course, the infamous Horrifying. Meantime, Skok a little bit out of position, uses the Counter-Strike immediately. Ends up falling, though. Not really falling, but taking so much damage. Emerald Wind, not really doing too much, but the Polymorph is good. And once again, it is the Beetle that falls.
The edge of that Emerald Wind actually just caught the Anub, and that's what gave Brightwing enough time to land the Polymorph after. Looks like Ewok is going to go down on the Oreo as well. And this is what Sweden needed. Tassadar possibly caught, has to use his E, but that's too impatient. on that stone bow.
I think he tried to make a prediction there where Tassadar would land after the dimensional shift, but unfortunately it was the wrong direction. Maybe he could have waited a little bit longer. In the meantime, though, France is trying to make up for their losses. They lost 2 heroes in the bottom, but already Tracer clearing the top lane. And overall, still, if you take a look at the structural advantage, they're just rocking it right now.
And this is what I love about watching a team that's so comfortable with the macro game, like Team France is. Going to that top lane, knowing this fight is over, I'm going to secure a fort instead.
Another beautiful lightning reflex here by Tassadar. If that dimensional shift hadn't been popped, he would have been a goner for sure. You can actually see the aggression coming in from Team Sweden. They realized they were all still grouped together, whereas the French team had to regroup. They tried to go in for an invade, and they got the the fire bat camp on the enemy side.
Zagara recognizing that people are missing, knowing there could be a gank coming, and she was correct. Rask just sat in that bus waiting for her to show a second time.
In the meantime, that boss could be a pretty big contention point, but both teams realize it is not time just yet. In the meantime, Rask going for an aggressive play. The force wall is kind of isolating him now, but with the support of Brightwing and the Emerald Wind, they secure the Bruiser camp. That was a long cooldown invested, though. Do you think that's worth it?
I do think that's worth it. So the beacon phases are not up yet, and when Sweden looks for their next big fight, which is not going to be any more because that's the only objective, and Team France will hit 13 by the time the beacons are up, they will have Emerald Wind back. So securing the hard camp gives them enough pressure to stand up and take their own hard camp.
In the meantime, though, the French team, they know that one of the most important team fight heroic abilities, the Emerald Wind, is now on cooldown. So they went in, tried to maybe go for a sneaky ambush, for a sneaky play. Muradin has been seen here and found, but Rask is a tanky dwarf. He's not going to be a target that gets killed very easily.
Now, Fast, knowing that dismounting there and casting that Stormbolt would put him in a bad position, but knowing that if he didn't do that, Vhagar would get cocooned and he would almost certainly fall after, along with Vhagar when the cocoon expired. So super heads-up play, dismounts himself, puts himself at risk, but trusts that Henning on the Vhagar has his back. And he did.
Very nicely done indeed. In the meantime, we see another mercenary camp, but you can see those pings go down. Team Sweden, they know that something's not quite smelling right here. Maybe it's a Nubarak smell, but we will find out here. Wonka trying to get in position. He's trying to make that play. Look, they're not going for that capture point because they realized there was a threat of a cocoon, and maybe they would get caught here isolatedly.
They did get the XP from killing the mercenaries themselves, though it's got close to 13, and that's their big objective.
Good detainment strike here to really slap Rask against the wall, but so far we really got to give kudos to the Swedish support players. Both Brightwing and Henning on the Rega are doing a fantastic job at always dropping the pixie dust when it is needed, always making sure to arrive in time. Now this time around though, Rask could be in trouble. Jumps over the wall, escapes. Third wind is going to keep him safe and sustained.
Having to blow Dwarf Tusk is always painful, but in that situation he had to do it, and they get the beacon anyway, so not too bad.
Both teams at 13, by the way, so this could be a very clutch, a very critical fight for them to take. In the meantime, Knuti needs to be careful. He's probably going to be the ideal target to hop on for Kierwa on that Tracer. Danatan moves back to safety. He realized that the rotation was coming in, but immediately joining with another Nidus, securing himself a little bit of sustain. Look at Kierwa and his boys. They're applying so much pressure on the exact opposite lane to where Team Sweden just rotated to.
So we said in the draft we knew they'd have problems with team fights, and Team France's response to that was, let's never take a team fight, but they might have to now.
Definitely true. Muradin going in. Stun lands on Ariel. The silence, though, not connecting here by Alrek. In the meantime, so much isolating going on. A beautiful fear on Ariel. Can she use the Crystal Aegis? Yes, but she remains surrounded by her enemies, and she ends up falling. But Bakery, the Zerg wave, has been summoned.
So they lose the 100% Zerg wave, but honestly, that might even be a good thing for Sweden, because I'm not sure France can push without Oriel. And Gul'dan, he's so effective at clearing. That top wave, I don't think he can get the keep all. The main concern is this bot keep.
Exactly. France is trying to capitalize on all the attention being put on the top lane against the Zergs. They're trying to get something done. Skok misses another Alarak combo. That could really hurt him in the long run. In the meantime, Anubrak dropped so low he had to use a defensive burrow charge once again. And we can see that only 2 heroes right now are defending against the mighty Zerg wave coming in the top lane. Only Brightwing, who could maybe... No, she can't actually teleport. She used it before.
Yeah, she used it to get to the top lane. It will be out quite soon because she is getting the heals onto Gul'dan, and Celestial Force to be used, but keeps her alive.
Keep is still alive. Muradin trying to land something on the Tracer, but Kirwa is just such an elusive target. Cocoon comes down to keep Wonka safe. He doesn't want to deal with the Muradin anymore. The long-range poke provided by Danatan on that Zagara is just such a pain for Sweden to deal with. But they make an important hold. They defend bottom keep, and they also save top keep. So they're still in the game. Definitely a good hold.
The later this game goes, the easier it gets for Team Sweden. They are still in the game at level 15, and they know that they can win every single team fight. That's why they are forcing this boss.
Yeah, they're forcing this boss. They realize they have better team fighting capabilities, especially with Horrify being up here, really able to dominate this capture platform. The Archangel will be deployed for the side of Team Sweden. Actually amazing to see that they forced this boss with Ancestral Healing being on the cooldown.
Yeah, exactly, but that's how strong their team fight is. France, they had all 5 members. They scouted it before the boss was even started, and they still decided we cannot react to this.
Now, what is Sweden going to do with the boss advantage here? Looks like they're trying to go for another team fight. A beautiful Storm Bolt by Rasp, but Tracer is not caught as easily as it is. In the meantime, only Danatan being sent to deal with that Archangel. The beacons are not just ready yet. So that is definitely a thing that goes in favor of Team France when it comes to dealing with this pressure.
And this is the issue that the Archangel has as a boss. It focuses minions before structures. And that causes it to slow down a lot, which has allowed Zagar to get a lot of clear. And actually most likely cost them that bottom keep to these mercenaries. And the minion wave is close, but they will not get it.
They will not get it. Speaking of things that get distracted by minions, unfortunately enemy minion waves also get distracted by that. In the meantime, a big Ancestral Healing coming in on Knuti, and it is time for them to retaliate. Counter-Strike lands on 3 people. The Crystal Aegis goes down. Can Wonka escape? No, he can't. The Cocoon won't really bother anyone. In the meantime, Rast is doing his shady business. He's on a hunt for Oriel. Polymorph comes in, and that is a dead Angel.
Speaking of shady business, Zagar in the bottom lane actually secured the last hits onto the keep. Now that is a blow for Team Sweden, and Team France's Zergwave is coming through the bottom lane next. If they get 100% Zergwave, it can definitely be caught.
Yeah, that is a really good move here by Kirwa as well, securing the Firebat camp all by herself. Trace is actually really good at kiting stuff. Saw a video a couple of days ago where she single-handedly dealt with a boss. So if you're a Tracer player out there, don't be afraid of going for those mercs when it's safe to do so.
Absolutely, especially if you have a Tassadar that can pick you up after.
Now, Bakery pointed out how important this Zerg wave is going to be for the Swedish team. As he said, the bottom wave is going to be reinforced by potential Zerg waves here. In the meantime, Rast is dropping very low, takes the Tracer ulti, pops the Muradin Avatar to stay in the battle, and is now Tracer that is getting pressured heavily and gets blown up by a beautiful Counter-Strike.
It's fantastic Counter-Strike, and Tracer thinking she does it, but she actually had not. Rast getting so low, but that was super important. They secured the Zerg wave, they kept themselves in the game, and 1-for-1 trade, that's about the best they could hope for.
Especially if Tracer is the target that ended up falling. So now there's significantly less pressure on those squishy range targets like Gul'dan. He can just continue to wreak havoc on the French lines. However, they're not reinforcing the Zerg wave just yet. And the French team was so quick to react. They have Zagara here, Tassadar Storms with that Side Fusion build, super strong. But Muradin is going for that Anub'arak. Is it going to be enough though?
Yeah, the Horrifier used sadly on the Aegis. Good Aegis timing, of course, by Ewok, and that will mean they do not even get the fortress.
Tassadar shields, of course, helping out tremendously when it comes to keeping structures alive. Big Ancestor Healing coming in on Knuti, manages to keep him alive for now, but Tracer's already back in the mix, reinforcing the bottom lane with Zagara, and that is exactly the lane they want to keep on pushing, because the keep for Team Sweden is no longer there.
Team Sweden, this is looking very similar to Game 1, Kendrick. They just need to get to the level 20, and they need to get one big team fight, and they can end the game. But France is making it so hard with such fantastic macro gameplay.
And all these continuous pickups here by Team Sweden allowed them to come back in experience. They're actually having a slight experience lead right now. So if this game continues to go on like that, level 20 is going to be a significant earlier. A CC chain on Tracer is not enough. The last second save by the Tassadar shield was enough to keep her alive. In the meantime, Sweden is fighting with everything they've got. No Ancestor Healing right now. The Cocoon is good, but gets drained immediately.
The Drain, fantastic at clearing the Cocoon. Vast still wants to fight. They know this is their opportunity. Huge damage coming out from the Gul'dan, but it's just not enough. They run away.
It's not enough. However, Ariel was low on hope, on energy. That means maybe Sweden could have pursued this fight a little bit more, because that's one of the major drawbacks coming in from Ariel. If you drop low from all that long distance poke by Gul'dan, there's nothing you can do about it unless you maybe hit level 20 and get the Shield of Hope, but before that, it just doesn't look too good.
Exactly, and Curva, he was far too aggressive at the start of that fight. He almost got killed before Team France could even react, but just not enough damage following that CC chain.
Yeah, definitely true. Masquerade and Ewok on the Tassadar and the Ariel doing a wonderful job at keeping Curva alive, who, as we said earlier during the cast, is known to be such a reckless and aggressive Tracer player. Now, let's see, Catapults are still this ever-threatening menace here. Uh-oh, Knuti is caught and slapped against the wall, gets stunned as well. The Horrify is good. Everything is here to save the Gul'dan, the most crucial pillar in the roster for Team Sweden. So some cooldowns were popped, but look at the heroic abilities in general. None of them is available for Sweden, and yet they're going for the boss.
They are still going for the boss. They have Counter-Strike, but that's the only thing they have.
The only thing. Burden ends up falling there as well, has to use the Stormfall, jumps over the wall as well, and stays alive. Another boss ready for Team Sweden. They are now the ones rocking all that momentum. The Crystal Ages in the last second to keep Ewok alive, but it is not enough. Now this could be the chase Sweden was looking for.
Vast goes for more. He gets a stun. He's super low. He has to be so scared of the Tracer right now. He uses Avatar. Bomb comes out. It's not enough. Pixie Dust again, always there.
All that sustained. Sweden's got sustained and healing for days. Tracer just can't seem to get that kill she desperately is craving for. And now with that boss, the Team Sweden here is turning on the heat. In the meantime though, top keep has fallen. Mercenaries on the core. Bright Wing teleported back. She needs to deal with that.
She should have teleport relatively soon, but she doesn't have it for a bit at least. She did use it onto the Mjolnir to try and save his life from that post-bomb.
In the meantime, also, the Zerg meter is charging up in favor of Sweden. The more they keep friends in their own quarters, the more this channel progress is going to come to a positive end here. Already, the Archangel doing so much work. This could be the foundation for a core call. Look at that, the Zergs are coming from the bottom as well.
Yeah, this could definitely be it. They keep taking so much damage from the cooldown already. It's about 30% now, Zagara. She has no catapults, I'm afraid. She has to back.
She has to back. In the meantime, we saw a cheeky charge coming in from Alrek, missing, unfortunately. Raz, they just can't seem to kill him. Oh no! The spike bomb missed. It was used on a minion instead of a hero.
The Zergling coming out of nowhere. That would have been almost the game for Team France, but Team Sweden is still looking to end.
They're still looking to end in reinforced by all those Ultralisk, Hydralisk, and Zergs in general. Kira trying to buy a little bit of time, trying to cause a little bit of distraction, but the core is being touched right now by that massive red force. Team Sweden is trying to go for the 2-0. Can they do it? The core is dropping to 80, 75, 70. It is looking good. Knuti ends up falling. Is it going to be enough? The only Murden left alive in Alrek.
Yeah, but they do a lot of damage. Tassadar shields them as well. I don't think
they can do it.
Enough.
They can do it. The Tassadar Shield's helping out here as well, and looks like Team France has done it. They held the core when it was so important, and now look at all those death timers. 50 seconds, 50 across the board. Danatan is already using the global of his Nidus Worm network, and it looks like Team France has done it. Just like Sweden come back from a miraculous disadvantage in game number 1, Team France is showing them how it's done as well. What a hold, what a game, and what a way to tie this series 1-1.
The whole team running across the map, finally just now getting to the core. Zagara has been here for a while though. Shields already down 20%, and this will be Team France equalizing the series.
GG to them. That was not an easy hold. Tracer though, in that last team fight, trying her best to distract their opponents and trying to buy as much time as possible. In the end, it worked out for them. Kudos to Masquerade on that Tassadar as well. Shielding the core is a very important thing to do, Tetcher.
Yes, it is. Protecting the core. This is something that Tassadars need to do a lot of the time. That little bit of extra health can sometimes be all you need to save the game for your team. And as such, we have a 1-1. Beautiful game.
We do have a 1-1 indeed. And I could really feel the desperation coming in for Team Sweden, because they didn't have a hero like Illidan. They didn't have a hero like Sonya, who was just so good at hitting the core when it really matters. They only had Alrek, and it just wasn't enough to really cut it.
Alrek sadly does almost no damage to the core. Most of his damage comes from his fate, which only affects heroes, and that was the big decider.
All right, Tetra,
Yeah.
show us replay number 1.
All right, so our first replay was quite early in the game. This was with Alarak and Brightwing, where Tracer tried to get a blow-up onto the Brightwing here. She gets the Tassadar shield. Now, Scott, at any time, he could telekinesis or start damaging Tracer, but he waits until the shield goes down here. So before he starts damaging, knowing Brightwing can survive before throwing Pixie Dust if the bomb lands, which she did. And it's just good patience. I can't do anything while the shield's up, so the second it is up, I can rely on Brightwing to pull him off. If the silence had gone down, he would have got the kill. So it's really good patience and game sense knowing when it is the time to counter-engage.
Yeah, Bakery and I during the cast were also really fond of the way they use the support players here, Team Sweden, that is Henning and who's the other? Daikarn on the Brightwing, always having those saving spells ready when it was really needed. What do you got for replay number 2?
So our next one is the big team fight where there was this huge engage onto the Gul'dan, and they tried to get the blow up onto him, but of course, an insane Ancestral right after Anub lands was so close to getting it here, but the huge CC and of course Anub, he uses the cocoon hit right here before he dies after the Aegis to try and give himself a chance to escape, but too ambitious there. There's no way he's going to get out, so he just blows a cooldown, which, to be fair, would have been up by the time he's back alive again, but in this case, did not work out, and as such, Ewok also will die in the process.
Yeah, no escape for the Auriel here, unfortunately. So, I want to talk more about Team Sweden and how they almost had this game. What was the turning point for them to really make a comeback, and what was the reason why they couldn't finish it?
I mean, I think it was mainly about the Alarak, to be honest with you. Like, they won every single team fight convincingly, and Alarak, he didn't even do so much in those team fights. He didn't add too much damage. He did get a few influential combos, but in the end, it seemed to be the Mjolnir and the Gul'dan that were making the plays.
We do have one big moment as well, which could have been the situation for Sweden to end the game potentially a little bit earlier, which might have avoided this entire situation. And that was, of course, when they got an insane gank onto the Anubarak. With Muradin, you will see him coming up from the bottom of your screen here. He finds the gap in the Zerg through the Beetle with that piercing bolt he stacked up, but Aegising the Horrify. What a beautiful play by Ebook, and that absolutely saved France that game.
All right, so the series is tied 1-1. Who do you think is carrying all that momentum right now?
I think Sweden should still be feeling confident. Now, we saw Sweden yesterday. They were ahead the entire game, 2 levels. They made one mistake, the game was equal, and then they lost the team fight and got aced and lost the game because of it. They came back and they did not look phased in the slightest. I expect the same thing to happen right here.
I'm also feeling a little bit of Sweden, but France. We're talking about Gul'dan a lot for Team Sweden, but that Zagara, that pressure onto the top lane, just keeping the catapults going, it wasn't enough to force the ports back. And also, I liked the patience waiting till after Bright would get teleported in, but that global potential is still such a big deal. Although, now we know Alarak pretty good in terms of laning against the Zagara, because they really did destroy that top lane.
All right, so this series is starting to get into really good shape here. Team Friends, for the first time, found a way against that infamous Gul'dan pick by Team Sweden. How's the series going to end? We're going to find out after a short commercial break, so don't go anywhere.